What's up, guys? This is Marquise Ephraim, and today I'm going over the 2016 NBA first round draft picks, 1 through 7. And here we go. We're starting off with Ben Simmons, the number one overall draft pick by the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, me personally, I like Ben Simmons, but I really don't. I can't say that he's going to be a superstar right now just because of his college highlights and just me, studying his highlights. I saw flashes of him potentially being a great player at the next level, but for right now, just because he has a lot of things in his game that he needs to improve, I can't say that he's going to be a superstar. And a lot of people are comparing him to LeBron James, which I think is ridiculous because coming out of high school, LeBron James was better than most college players, and he was in high school. So Ben Simmons, you know, uh, he went against college players and he would dominate some games, but then in other games he wouldn't, show up like a superstar caliber player should. So I like him, just not superstar caliber to me. All right, with the second pick, the Los Angeles Lakers selected Brandon Ingram. Now, me, I like Brandon Ingram a little bit better than Ben Simmons just because Brandon Ingram has a decent shot, which Ben Simmons, his shot is pretty much non-existent. So if I were the Philadelphia 76ers, I would have selected Brandon Ingram over Ben Simmons just because I feel like his game is more complete. But hey, you know, I'm not an expert. And a lot of people are comparing Brandon Ingram to Kevin Durant coming out of Texas. They kind of have the same build. Of course, Kevin Durant was a much better shooter, um, and which I don't really see the comparisons, but I can't understand due to their height and kind of Brandon Ingram is a little bit heavier than Kevin Durant was when he came out, but they do have like the same kind of build. So we'll see where Brandon Ingram goes. I believe he's gonna have a better career than Ben Simmons because, like I mentioned earlier, his game is just a little bit more complete. Besides his passing, which I think Ben Simmons is like a point guard when it comes to passing. But other than that, I like Brandon Ingram just a little bit better than Ben Simmons. All right, and with the third pick, the Boston Celtics selected a guy that I really like coming out of Cal, Jalen Brown. A lot of people are comparing him to Jason Richardson when he came out. I can kind of see why people would compare him to Jason Richardson. Just Jalen Brown, he's a 6'7" shooting guard. He's a big guy coming out of Cal. Now, I have to admit, I didn't really watch that many games of his when he was at Cal. I would catch a few maybe on SportsCenter or something, but I did notice that um, he would always show up in big games. You know, he would always show up in big games. So and I believe that that's what's most important when you're trying to evaluate potential pro talent. You go to the biggest games where all of the whole city comes out, and it's gonna come down to the wire. And I can always say Jalen Brown was just that consistent player that most scouts look for when they're scouting people. Okay, and with the fourth overall pick, the Phoenix Suns selected a 7'1" center out of Croatia, Dragan Bender. Now I don't know much about this guy, but if you go fourth overall, then I'm guessing you have to be a pretty good player. You know, um, of course, since I'm in America, I didn't really see a lot of his highlights. Um, I rarely saw any, so I don't really know much about this guy. But like I said, if you get drafted fourth overall, then an NBA team has to have faith in you that you're gonna be a good player. Um, and me, like, I try not to put so much pressure on guys, especially because they're so young coming out of college or overseas. Like, these guys are 18 and 19, so it's like, one, their body isn't fully developed. Um, and it's always a transitional phase when you're coming from college and going into the pros with grown men who's 10 years pro, 12 years pro, who know what the NBA is about. So that's why I try not to put so much pressure on these guys, and we'll just see how all these guys work out. And with the fifth pick, the Minnesota Timberwolves selected a guy that I really like, Chris Dunn, a 6'4" point guard out of Providence. Now, I really like this guy. I think he should have went maybe third or fourth over Jaylen Brown and Dragan Bender. But then again, you have to draft with the things that you need or the things that you lack. So I understand why he went fifth, which isn't a bad spot. That's, top five. You're still making pretty good money in the NBA. But this guy, I think he's going to be one of the best, young point guards coming up in the NBA. He has rock solid defense. He's one of the best defensive point guards that I've seen coming out in a while. Now the only downside to Chris Dunn, I think, is he can improve on his offensive game. Now if he does that, then I think he could be a really good point guard at a really young age in the NBA. Now he's 22. He's a few years older than a lot of the prospects who only played 1 year in college and came out. But I really like this guy more than a lot of the draft picks that came out this year, and I think he's going to be a really good player. Excuse me. And with the sixth pick, the New Orleans Pelicans selected Buddy Hield, a 6'4" shooting guard out of the University of Oklahoma. Now, I really like this guy. He's a sharpshooter. He's a really great three-point shooter. But I think that he needs to improve his defense in order to really make a mark in the NBA. Like I said, he's great offensively, but if you can't stop anyone in the NBA, then you're a liability. For instance, Kyle Korver, he's a great three-point shooter. I really liked him when he played for the Bulls, but people would attack him because he didn't really have much defense. So in order to really last and start in the NBA, I believe you have to have at least decent offense but great defense to go up against guys like LeBron James or Kyrie Irving or Russell Westbrook or Kevin Durant. You have to be able to stop those guys defensively. But I really like this guy. I think he's going to be one of the better shooting guards to come out in the last few NBA drafts. And with the seventh pick, the Denver Nuggets select a 6'5" point guard out of Kentucky, Jamal Murray. Now this guy has a 75 overall, which is pretty good. It's up there with the top picks. But I can't lie, I didn't see much from this guy at Kentucky, so I don't really know what his game is like. But I hear a lot of people comparing him to Ben Gordon. Now again, I'm from Illinois, so I'm a Bulls fan, and so I know all about Ben Gordon. Ben Gordon was great offensively. He hit a lot of clutch shots for the Bulls, but his defense was suspect. So, and again, I think that's something that Jamal Murray needs to improve on, his defense. Offensively, he's good, but defensively, again, if you can't stop anyone in the NBA, then you're pretty much no good. So if he improves his defense, I think he's gonna be a good player. Kentucky, the thing with Kentucky, they have so many draft picks to enter the draft every year. It's hard to really pick, the better ones, unless it's a John Wall or a DeMarcus Cousins, But those guys, aren't just coming out every single year. Those are great players who come by every so often. So again, this is the first 1 through 7 of the 2016 NBA draft. I'll keep uploading more videos of the draft picks and keep you guys updated, so please stay tuned. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment on my videos. Thanks. Peace.